the PhD online info session. My name is Sean Boyd. I'm Coordinator of Student Affairs.
I'm Carolyn Graff, and I'm the Director of the PhD program here at UT Health Science Center.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Pretty much this would be based on your questions, so if you have questions, definitely let us know. One thing you do need to know, there's a 30-second delay. So when you ask your questions or type them in on YouTube, and in order to type in your questions, you must log in first. You just log into YouTube or use your Google account, and there's a box on the right-hand side of the screen. And you just type in your questions and we'll be able to see them on our computer to answer those for you. Just real quick, our PhD program, the application deadline is February the 1st of next year, which will be 2017. It's odd even saying 2017, how time goes by so fast. But pretty much we're going to just do a brief overview of the program, and then we'll see what questions you have. And then I'll talk a little bit about how you apply in nursing CAS and whatnot. So we want to go ahead and get Dr. Graff, if you want to just kind of do a brief overview.
Okay. So our PhD program is a PhD in nursing science. Our PhD program is offered through the College of Graduate Health Sciences. All the PhD programs on our campus are offered through that college. Our curriculum or plans of study are available for people who have a bachelor's degree in nursing, people who have a master's degree in nursing, and we do have full-time and part-time study available. We also have an option for people to enroll in the DNP/PhD program. So you could certainly apply with that program. You would apply to the DNP through the College of Graduate Health Sciences, and also to the PhD, to the DNP through the College of Nursing, and the PhD through the College of Graduate Health Sciences. We right now have 3 students in the DNP PhD program and have had several students finish that program. Our topics in terms of research, the research interests or focus of our faculty are really strongly around clinical research. Our faculty have a variety of interests that range from neurovascular disorders, sleep, transplant, caregiving, family nursing, and on. So we really have an interesting group of faculty and people. Our applicants to the program, we look at people who can match with our program in terms of interests the applicants have in terms of what they want to do with research. PhD students, I think, I'm thinking about characteristics of PhD students and how you might decide to come here. I think if you're a BSN or an MSN, if you're a BSN graduate or have a master's in nursing or master's in nursing education or a bachelor's with a master's degree in another area, I think when you come to the PhD program, I find that students in the program are highly energized, they're highly motivated people, they want to move further in nursing, and many people know exactly that they want to do nursing research. They want to actually conduct nursing research, and some people want to simply know more about nursing research so that they can actually teach others and then implement programs or carry out programs really building on nursing research. I think students need to be able to tolerate ambiguity. I mean, I think sometimes we have issues that there are no real right or wrong answers. And so when you move into complex areas, and again, we're focusing heavily on human health here, the complexity is just incredibly great. So we like students who have that ability to kind of be flexible, and again, I guess I just think of the term tolerating ambiguity. Being motivated, interested in our program in terms of matching areas with us. Occasionally people come into our program and don't know exactly what they want to focus their research on. That can also be okay, because sometimes students have a similar interest to one of our faculty and just move right into that area. We have a faculty member coming on who has a strong interest in genetics, and actually a couple of applicants who probably will match with her in terms of their own research interests. So some of our students have actually worked in the lab with some of our basic scientists here on the campus. We have a number of students and faculty who've been to the National Institutes of Nursing Research Summer Genetics Institute, and we have a fair amount of funding to support students while they're in the program. A real advantage is, from my point of view, is tuition waiver. We have an option for full-time students. Full-time students can have their tuition waived if they agree to, quote, pay back 6 hours a week to their faculty advisor. And that payback service hours can actually be something that might involve data collection, it might involve doing a lit review, it might involve helping with data analysis or actually writing a manuscript. So it's a really good opportunity for refining research skills. So you can see I can talk a lot.
Oh, that's
about
fine.
the
Yeah,
program.
I'm learning a lot myself, Dr. Graff. Someone asked, can you run through a day-to-day schedule, I guess a
Okay.
general schedule of
Okay.
the PhD program?
Okay, so I'll start with what would happen for our first year students day to day. So basically, we have face-to-face classes for students on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mondays, we tend to have face-to-face class morning and afternoon. Some of those classes are what we call hybrid, which means that we will sometimes have face-to-face class and then we will have another week. The other week, alternate week, will be an online class where students are engaged with online activities. But typically, for first-year students, we ask them to be on campus Monday and Tuesdays. Tuesdays, our class is a class in the morning from 8 to 10 where students have biostatistics. They also have biostatistics on Thursday from 8 to 10. It's my understanding the biostatistician who teaches that class does tape those classes so students can actually go back and listen to them.
Okay.
And so some students who can't really be in class, say on Thursday, could actually be available or could actually use the available tapes, videotapes or recordings. The other thing I didn't finish on Monday, so we would have a class on Monday morning and typically Monday afternoon. And it helps, I think, for the students to be together and be on campus. The other thing we try to do is for those students who have a tuition waiver, we try to get those tuition waiver activities centered around that Monday or Tuesday. So students who come from out of town, we have some out of town students who come in from areas
Right.
around Memphis, and they will actually come in sometimes on Sunday, typically Sunday evening,
Okay.
and stay over Sunday night, Monday night, and then go back home on Tuesdays. So that would be a typical first semester, second semester, and really third semester. After that, once you get involved with your faculty advisor, your schedule will really depend on what your faculty advisor has set up for you in terms of activities you may be involved in with him or her. So if, say you have a faculty advisor who's doing a particular type of research and you need to be in the clinical setting with that person, you might be there doing some activities with your advisor. So it's really your schedule's quite individualized except for that first, second, third semester. We also have some courses that students take online with our DMP students, and those courses, really by being online, the face-to-face component of that is at the beginning and end of the semester. So at the beginning of the course, you'd meet face-to-face for 2 or 3 hours, and at the end of the course, you'd meet face-to-face for 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
So,
Okay, it's the next question. If you do the dual program,
Mhm.
DMP, PhD, and decide one is not for you, can you drop one or the other?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And that's actually happened. We've had some students, I guess I'll think of 2 students who came in. They were very eager to do the DNP and PhD. We start the DMP PhD program with PhD courses. And I'll talk a little bit about why we do that in a minute. But basically, these two students came in and started PhD coursework. They got so involved with PhD coursework and doing their research that they didn't want to pursue the DMP.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want the practice component. They wanted the PhD. Other people, we've got two students right now. One has just finished the DMP PhD. The other two are still in the program, and they are moving into DMP coursework. So I can talk a little bit more just quickly. The reason we put the PhD courses first is that the DMP coursework, because we really focus on clinical and nurse practitioner courses in terms of the programs would be, and you would be in the DMP program focusing on becoming a nurse practitioner. When you take some of those courses such as pathophys, pharmacology, and then you look to sit for certification, you need to have had those courses within the last 2 years. So if you take those when you come into the program in the beginning, and then you go into PhD coursework, you're going to have this long period of time that will lapse, and you might well have to go back and retake those courses. So we don't want to put students in that predicament. So we just say, basically what's happening now is I think the students are choosing to really almost finish their PhD coursework and take advantage of the tuition waiver. And when they finish the PhD coursework and even sometimes defend their dissertation, they're no longer full-time students, then they begin paying tuition for the DMP program. So it comes down almost, it's financial.
Right, exactly.
There's a financial component.
So what are some of the challenges students might experience in the PhD program?
Oh my, I think, I'll be frank, I think the biggest challenge is time and time management. I think a lot of students, because we're nurses, we come into this program with obviously some characteristics that are going to help us, help you be successful in the PhD program. However, there are a few things about us that can be challenging. Many of us have been helpful to a lot of other people in our lives. We have been helpful to family members, we've been helpful to peers we work with, employers, etc. And so when you come into the PhD program, it's almost like you have to be selfish. You have to get really self-centered and often set boundaries on what you can do and what you can't do. And that will actually very concretely be things like letting your house get dusty and not cleaning it very often. I mean, and maybe saying no to things that, like, organizations you've been involved with or whatever, church activities you've been involved in. You just have to really cut back. It's not forever. You'll be able to come back into some of those activities when you finish your PhD, but I think that's, to me, time management is a major issue for people.
Right.
It doesn't completely go away when you finish, but I will say, when you finish your PhD, you get to decide what you want to do.
Right. Which is always good.
Yes.
Which is always good. And I guess it's the benefit of not working. You get the tuition waiver, so you're not.
Yes.
Do you have you ever had a student that maybe tried to work and was not successful?
We have students who
Okay.
work. I'll just say that right now, Sean. We have students who are working, and it's challenging. I think the big piece is, and it again goes back to time. I'm glad you asked that question, because I think sometimes students come in and they have an employer who's very, very eager for them to get their PhD completed, and they will allow some flexibility in that student's work schedule so they can actually be involved in coursework when they need to be involved. So we do have students who work, and that can be problematic. I see students cutting back their work hours, and we've had some people who've actually dropped way back. I think the easiest thing to do is not to work. I mean, I think that would be the simplest if you could do it, absolutely. And then basically get through the program. It just allows you to totally focus. It allows students to totally focus on their
Right.
study, their program of study.
Okay. The next question is coming from Aaron. How long is the DNP PhD program if you come into the program with a MSN FNP?
Okay. You could full-time finish it probably in 4.5 years, I think is what our plan of study shows. You might be able to finish it in 4 years. It depends on, one thing we would do with you is look at coursework you've already had and look at, if there's any overlapping courses at all. But it would, I think, since you already have an FNP, you wouldn't need to go through all that clinical work. And so you would simply be getting some DNP courses in addition that would give you that Doctor of Nursing Practice degree.
Right.
So it might well be less than 4.5 years.
And I think we had you on earlier, Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, with the DNP.
Okay.
I think you had a similar question, and I think Diane mentioned that she would still have to do some of those clinical hours.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you made it
so,
earlier.
So
because,
Dr. Pace would know.
Yeah.
That's a great, so I can say for sure.
So, but we can make sure, we can verify that to make sure, but so roughly 4.5.
I would say 4.5 to maybe 5. And the other issue, though, that comes into play is once you start your dissertation, depending on what the focus of your dissertation research is, we can't always guarantee how long that dissertation is going to take.
Right.
Dissertation research and research in general can be, I'll just use the word messy. It can be challenging sometimes because things come up, such as you think you can recruit all the participants you need for your study, and things happen. You're not able to recruit the people you want. Just all kinds of little issues can come up to make it challenging. Again, even using existing data, we've got a couple of students right now who are using existing databases and doing secondary analysis on large data sets. Those students have access to databases that are there. They still have to request that data and get access to it, and then show the owner of the data what they're going to do with it. And sometimes that can take a little extra time. It depends on who, again, who you're getting the data from, etc. But so ideally, if you're full-time, our curriculum's set up so that you really can get through with a master's degree in nursing. You can get through our program in 3 years for sure. It's work, but you can do it. So.
Okay. Is there any more questions? Okay, and just if we have those who are just now logging in, make sure that you sign in to your YouTube channel. You just sign in like you would your YouTube, or you can use your Google email account. And just in the chat box, you can post your questions, and we'll be able to see that. We've been getting some really great questions. And also just to remember, this is recorded. So at a later date, if you want to, revisit it, or you want to send it to some friends who are not able to make it, during a live broadcast, only thing you have to do is copy the link, or they can log into UTHSC College of Nursing YouTube page, our YouTube channel, and you'll see all the videos, including this one on there. So if you want to share that video, we'd definitely appreciate it. You can share it on Facebook and different avenues as those as well. Erin, did you have any more questions? I think you were the last one before. I know you came on earlier, so she did the DNP earlier as well. Is there anything else? I know a lot of times I know from student affairs side, we get questions a lot about the GRE and the importance of that, writing.
Right, that's a great question. So we do ask that applicants take the GRE, and I believe it's the last 2 years. We need to have a GRE that's 2 or 3 years old at the most. If you have a master's degree in nursing, let me back up and say our GRE, we have a standard of total of verbal and quantitative, should total 300. That requirement comes from the College of Graduate Health Sciences. If your GRE total score is not quite at 300, but you have a master's degree in nursing, then and you've got a good GPA in that master's degree, and by good GPA I mean a 3.5 or higher, or even 3.4, somewhere in there. I would readily recommend, if your GRE, say, is a 295 or something like that instead of a 300, I would recommend that that the GRE be waived, and that requirement for 300. So that is definitely something that does happen with our students. There's also a kind of a perception our faculty have that to our faculty, the GRE is not that important. What we really rely on more is a student's GPA. The GPA is much more predictive of student success in the doctoral program than the GRE scores are. So particularly having a master's degree shows us that you can be successful, with graduate courses. The other thing is, if you're a little worried about coming into the program, one area of coursework that some students have challenges with or uneasiness about is statistics. And so we have some students who will take a statistics course, or actually Dr. Betsy Tolley, the faculty member who teaches biostatistics, has agreed that students can come in as a non-degree student. So if you haven't applied for admission this year to come in August of 2016, you could take biostatistics, you could take one of the nursing courses in the fall semester, another course in the spring as a non-degree student.
Okay.
And that, again, would give you an opportunity to kind of get your feet wet or get a taste of what it's like, to take the courses in the PhD. So.
Okay, it's another question for your letters of recommendation. If you are applying for both, how many do you need? Do they need to be separate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, you can have the same letters, I think. There are differences in what the DNP and the PhD want. I can talk to you about what we want in the PhD program. We want you to have someone write a letter of recommendation about your ability to be successful in a research doctoral program. So how they see you potentially being able to conduct research or engage with others in doing research. So that needs to be in the letters. Now, some people, and I'm thinking about some of our current applicants, some of that information is in the same letter that goes to the DNP and the PhD faculty. So we have a person who wants to come into the DNP program. They clearly want to be a psych mental health nurse. At the same time, they also want to conduct research. And they're interested in conducting research more toward a basic science side, but they also have that interest in, say, psych mental health nursing. So the people who've written the letters for them basically addressed both. And that's another thing. People, you can call me at any time, like when you start moving into that phase of an application, to just talk to me about what you're doing or who you're asking to write your letter. It's better, from my point of view, to have a letter from someone, I think, with either a PhD or a professional doctorate. Professional doctorate, that means an MD, a PharmD, a DNP. Certainly you can get a letter from a person with a master's degree. That would be okay. But I think it's good to have at least 2 of your 3 letters from someone who has a doctorate of some sort, professional or research doctorate.
Okay. Okay. We're waiting on you for more questions. We will be closing out soon. So if you have any last minute questions, definitely let us know. One thing I want to say about NursingCast, make sure that you go ahead and get started as soon as possible when it opens. A lot of times we have students that might wait till the end. With NursingCast, that we have to verify documents. It's a lot that goes into it. So it's not an overnight thing where you can apply the last day of January and meet of course you'll meet the February 1st deadline, but it does take a little, sometimes weeks after that before we are able to verify the document. So I say get in there, get registered. One good thing about NursingCast, you develop your own username and password, so you can log in, you can log out, you can start a section. Pretty much your sections are on the screen. There's 7 sections. You can start it, you can come back to it. So it's always good to get in there. If you have questions, definitely contact us with Student Affairs. Dr. Graff is always great with answering students' questions concerning PhD issues. So definitely get started as soon as possible. Anybody have any last minute questions or any last minute things you
Well,
want to say?
I'm seeing the essay here, and it follows up with the recommendation letters. I mean, that's another, it's a similar type of question. So when you write an essay and you're applying to the DNP and PhD program both, you would want to write in there, again, on the PhD side, what you think your research interests are, and then certainly from the DNP side, what your clinical interests are. But certainly for the PhD, because our PhD program is a clinical research doctoral program, we want to be able to see how you would focus your research in a clinical area. A couple years ago, someone came to talk to me about getting a PhD in ethics, and I just said, we can't do that here. So there's certain topics we just can't do.
Right.
And so that's part of why it's a good thing to do, to spend some time. And like today, the people who are online, looking at our PhD program are really wise in looking at what is a good fit for them.
Right.
Each person you need to find a good fit. Some of it is because if you live here, then it's convenient to come here. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I was at the University of Kansas Medical Center working, and I just had to walk across campus or walk about 2 blocks to go to class. So it's very convenient for me, and my research interests fit the faculty that were there. But sometimes you may need to see if you're going to fit with us, and vice versa.
Right. I think that's very important. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I hadn't received any more questions, so we definitely want to thank you for taking time out to tune in to learn more about our PhD program here at UT. As Dr. Graff mentioned, our information is on the website. I'm going to try to bring up hers so you can have that. You're one of the first few, Dr. Graff. I'm going to bring, here we go, right here. All right, so I'm just kind of highlighting Dr. Graff's information, her email address, her phone number, and of course our information is on the website. As soon as you log in to the College of Nursing, you'll see Jamie Overton. She's the Director of Student Affairs, and you see, of course, myself, Sean, Board Coordinator. So if you have any questions, or if you maybe want to come up one day and do a tour, talk with some faculty members, we highly suggest that as well.
People have come to meet with me face to face, to just want to see me or talk. I mean, I think it's a good idea to do that, because you just get a feel when you meet with people if it's a good option. We have a strong program. We have people who come here when they could go to other programs, because they like the fact that our program really focuses individually on students, and we help you move into an area of research that really fits you.
Right.
So I think it's a good program.
Okay. Well, again, we want to thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, this YouTube live recording will be saved. So if you have anybody that could not make the live event today, you can just forward them the link, or they can log back onto our YouTube channel to view this information at a later date. Again, thank you.